George Mason.
Yeah.
That's where I was training last year. And then once COVID hit, we needed a new facility. And by the grace of God, there was just this facility that he like literally it's just pole vault and high jump. And then I was like, this is incredible. So yeah, so we've been there and there's not many people, so it's great. And then the owners just keep adding things. So they added like a full gym. So now I don't have to go to the gym. I can lift there.
Nice.
So it's just this one big area. But yeah, yes. And my husband is still in New Jersey.
Ah, so you're doing the long distance thing.
Yes, and it's very difficult.
Yeah, I know. I've been there. We did Pittsburgh, San Francisco for a year, and that was like
yeah. This is only 4 hours a drive. That is a whole plane ride, and bi-coastal. Yeah, that's tough.
But still 4 hours during a pandemic, right? So
it's very, very difficult. Yeah, he's a teacher, so he was like, if we were virtual, I could be with you, but he goes to school, so
a
little difficult. Yes, and then he's a football coach, so the fall is his
crazy time. Yeah.
Yes, so it's but we truck along, we keep it moving. Yeah, staying positive.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's dive into this. I'm gonna just start with some introductions. And I will start with myself. I am Dr. Cindy Bulick, and I am the principal investigator of the Eating Disorders Genetics Initiative. And I will tell everybody right away that the website for the Eating Disorders Genetics Initiative is www.edgi or edgi.org. And I am super excited today to have Priscilla Loomis with us. And I'm actually going to read a little bit of her bio so I don't mess it up. So Priscilla, and tell me if I do anything wrong. So you were born in Queens.
Queens, New York. Yes,
Queens, New York.
Yes.
I thought you lived in New Jersey, but you actually live in Virginia now.
Right now,
right?
Yes, temporarily, yes.
And I do have the fact that your husband is football coach Ken Loomis.
Yes.
And somewhere we're going to start when we start talking is you started competing in track and field at the age of 6.
Yes.
Yes.
It's been a long journey.
Yeah. And your trajectory got you up to a silver medal in the 2015 Pan Am Games in the high jump. And you represented Antigua and Barbuda in the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Those are all facts. Yeah, you did great.
Awesome. So we have
good.
an Olympian in our midst, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, exactly. Raise the ceiling. So welcome. Lovely to have you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on. I'm very excited for our talk.
Great. Let's start with that 6-year-old competing in track and field. You were just a wee thing when you started competing in track and field.
You know what? Track and field athletes always start young for the most part. My mom was a single parent, and when I, have all this energy, she's like, what can I do to just get this little girl to just calm down? And so that's pretty much how it started. It was just, she really wanted me my sister was the book smart one, and my mom knew I was the athletic one. We kind of took those roads. And so my sister was in, spelling bees and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, get me outside. I need to be outside running around doing something. And it was track and field. It was like the one thing at the school that I went to provided. And it wasn't anything crazy or serious or club or travel. It was just, let's get the kids ready to go and enjoying, this lifestyle and introduce them to track. And so I started when I was 6 and I never left. It's just always, I've been doing it ever since. And growing up, I hated track. I hated it. It was just I wanted to be doing anything else. And I did volleyball, which I loved. I was so obsessed with volleyball as I got older. And then I became, a dual sport athlete because I was doing track and I was doing volleyball. And I did it all the way up until middle school. And then that's when I had to make the decision of which one to focus on. Right. Because as, growing up in each of those sports, coaches start to say, you're actually like talented in this. Like you could actually do something a little more. It's not a hobby. And so I loved it. And for me to pick was really difficult because I really loved volleyball, but I knew I was more talented in track. Yeah, because you know, when you do other events, and as I was growing, physically growing, I was getting better at each event. So I was doing like the 800, I was doing the hurdles, I was doing the 400, the sprints, I was doing shot put, I was doing all these things
Wow.
and excelling at them. And so on volleyball, I was doing indoor volleyball with a team, and it kind of taught me that I really don't like the team aspect,
Aha.
because yeah, like that's when it really hit, because in track it was on me.
Right.
In volleyball, I had to rely on the other girls, and if
Yeah.
one of them broke up with their boyfriend or had an argument with their parents, they could show up in any kind of state or form.
Right.
And that's when I was just like, okay, like let me
Yeah.
just stick to it. So then I went to high school and I started doing track,
Okay. All
and
right.
so that was really great.
So you have this talent in all these different track and field events. What was it about high jump that pulled you in that direction?
I wish I could say that it was just like the heavens opened and it was just like the high jump was there. Um, in high school, for the most part, if you're tall and skinny, they'll put you in the hurdles and the high jump. That's
Right.
how it is. If you had a gymnastic background, they'll put you in the pole vault. It's like these little
Huh.
things. If you are quote unquote like thicker or bigger, and it looks like you have a lot of power in your legs,
Right.
they'll probably put you in the throws.
Huh.
Just how, like, it's just how the coaches pretty much decipher. And my coach, my freshman year, do you remember those books that you would like like they would draw pictures, and then when you flip the book, it would like move? It was like
Yes.
motion.
Yeah.
That is how my coach taught me how to high jump.
Oh, cool.
Yes, that is the first experience that I got with the high jump, because I was always a runner, you know, like I was
Yeah.
always running. I was 8, 4, 2, shot put. So I did all these things. And then in high school, they were like, you can do the high jump. And I was like, sweet, I get to go over backwards. Show me how. And he just pulls out this book and he does it like multiple times. I was like, okay. I had one teammate who was a senior, and she was also there to guide me and, you know, help me out. And instantaneously, I just picked it up. I just got it.
Wow.
And yeah, and so my mom was like, all right, let's get you some elite level coaching. Like
Right.
I can actually, like, let's try it. If
Yeah.
if you suck, then okay, we'll let it go. But if you're good, it's a great investment. And so I started working with a coach, and I just got better and better. But I mean, when in high school is when I also fell in love with the theater. I loved
Right.
being on stage. And so that became a big balance as well. And it taught me a lot. And I don't think I ever give credit to where credit's due, but um, being forced to make these kinds of decisions and try and balance was very, very eye-opening for me. I was never the captain of the track team, even though I was one of the best, because I took the theater and dance and the arts over track and field.
Right.
And I realized, like, wow, they should have cut me. I skipped practices, I did all these things, but when I came to the meet, I won.
You did well. Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And so, but then when I, like, you know, so when you look back at it, I'm like, wow, I love the high jump. I loved track. I was still throwing the shot put. I was still doing all these events, the discus. I was like, can I try that? Can I try that? And I did great in them, but the high jump was that one thing that was like really good. And so were the hurdles. And so when I became a state champion in the hurdles and the high jump, you know, it was one of these eye-opening experiences, like, okay, I guess I'm pretty good at track, and I guess I got to stick with it.
I love it. But it's really neat though that you manage to stay so diverse and have so many areas and things that you're interested in, because those doors are still open to you at this point, right?
Absolutely.
And it helps with even this, doing
that's
interviews.
definitely the goal. Yeah. My
Yeah.
mom, I mean, with that, I didn't have that passion for track. I had the passion for theater. I wanted to be in movies and television. I wanted to be an entertainer. That's all I wanted to do. And excuse me, my mom was like, you can use this track and field as a way to excel in the arts. If you build a name for yourself and a brand for yourself, you can still do it. You can't do track at any age, but you can be Meryl Streep at any time. And I was like, you're right. That's a really good point. So then that's when my senior year, it became focus, laser focus.
Right.
I was okay. I was average. You know, I was doing well, but nothing on a national scale. And then my senior year came, and I met with my guidance counselor, and realizing that college costs money, which I didn't know.
A good bit of it, yeah.
Right? Like, how naive of me to think that I could just go to college and do whatever. And my plan was to be a struggling actress and quit track and move to New York and, you know, live that whole lifestyle and then become Beyonce and just live my life. And, you know, little people gave me little glimpses of reality, and I said, okay. And my guidance counselor was like, you know, you're not good enough, you know, to get a scholarship, an athletic scholarship. And I said, well, what do I need to do? And I think he was shocked that I said that, not like, oh man. I was like, well, what do I have to do?
Right.
Like, it was just like a little checkbox, like I could just fill it out.
Yeah.
And he told me exactly what I had to do, and I needed to jump better, and I needed to win. And I said, okay. And that's what I did. I literally, from that moment, I knew I didn't want my mom to have to take out loans and do all that and go into debt. I knew I didn't want to be in debt. Yeah. And so I took it seriously.
And it worked, right?
It totally flipped my focus. Yeah. Totally, completely. And so that following weekend, I had prom, and my mom made me go home after prom, and I had, you know, counties, which is like, you know, baby step. I won counties, set, you know, a new New Jersey state record at the time. And I just kept moving up from there, and then winning states, winning champs, and then flying out to my first track meet, you know, for nationals, which it used to be Nike nationals. Yeah. And fully expected to get last, placed fourth, which made me an All-American. Yep. And it was just like that. Like, I decided, I was like, that's it. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And if I need to focus, this is what I have to do. And so that's how high jump became this, such like a launch, like literally just launched. Right. But it launched like my career, obviously, but also my mindset. That's definitely helped.
Yeah. And that's the part that's really coming across. It's just like, when you're determined to do something, you do it.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that we see in athletes across the board, you know, just, and that ability to hyper focus, you know, to put all of your energy and your attention and your drive into that goal.
Yes. And it only gets better. You only fine tune it along the way. Right. When I think back about where I was, my whole focus is so different to where I am now, but I've learned so much, and I've grown so much, and the journey has helped me just sharpen my tools. And that's what it is. And a lot of people ask me about, you know, when people are negative, or, you know, reality hits you, like, how do you, you know, deal with it? And I was like, honestly, just like everybody else, like, it hurts, but it's about how I handle it. Right. And I have to take myself out of the equation and say, okay, does that make sense? Did that guidance counselor need to tell me that I'm not good enough? Yes, he needed to, because I wasn't. I'm not going to make it like I'm a sad little sap. How can I fix it? Right. Get better. Right. Focus. Right. Do what you got to do. So as much as most people would be like, oh, that's, you know, I can't believe he said that to you, it made me better. Yeah. It sharpened me, and now I'm grateful for it. Thank you. Thank you for pushing me. So those are the kinds of moments that I knew made me. And it's always, I tell this to a lot of people, and they never want to hear it, but it's through these negative comments, it's through these failures that I've become this person. And this strong. Yes. And I know how strong I am, and I love it. Yeah.
So for athletics, I actually totally agree with you. But you've also had some comments directed toward you, as I understand it, both in the modeling field and also in track and field, about your body not being the right shape and size.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about, so start with the modeling experience and tell me a little bit what happened there.
So that was the first time I had ever been confronted with any kind of weight issue, ever. Right. I was skin and bones. That's what everybody used to call me. They were like, you're so skinny, you're like a twig. And so that's what I was like. I mean, I look in the mirror, I was like, yeah, I guess so. And so I was in pageants.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was, my mom's a glamour queen. She really is. And so she was like, why don't you do pageants? And I was like, yeah, I'll try it. And so when you place top 10 or top 5, you get these little contracts and they give you like as a gift or an award.
Okay.
And so I went to a modeling agency and it was in New York. And the one thing I noticed that it was a lot on my mom. She's a single parent. She works a full-time job.
Yeah.
Driving to New York from South Jersey is a 2.5 hour drive. So we would drive into Manhattan 2 to 3 times a week. And I would take these classes and I would go to auditions. It was a lot. Yeah. And I was still in like middle school going, like high school kind of age. So it was a lot. And I remember clear as day, this older, and I can remember because I admired her. She was an older Black woman. She had to be like 60, but her, like the way she presented herself and the way she spoke about herself, she couldn't, like, if you looked at her, she was 40 years old. Right. Legitimately.
Right. I can imagine it.
Like, yeah. Like she just like just so like refined. And she was just like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, like I've taken care of my body and all this kind of stuff. And so when I took acting and modeling.
Okay. And
the acting was great. We had such a good time with my course director, and the modeling, we took pictures and she would just tell us how to pose and all this kind of stuff. And she saw the picture of me and she was just like, you have a fat face. And words have power now that I know that. Yeah. I didn't know that then. And I was just like, okay. And she's like, you photograph heavy. And I said, okay.
Wow.
And I remember her saying fat face. And I was just like, okay, I need to diet. That's it. Like, I'll watch what I eat. I'll do what all these other people are doing. And I went back into the car and took the picture to my mom. And I was like, the lady said I have a fat face. My mom was like, we're done.
Oh.
We're done. Mm-hmm. She's like, we're done with all of this. And I remember it being so distinct because something changed. For my mom to like want me to model and like do all these things, but like, she took care of all that kind of stuff. But for her to just make that decision, I was just like, okay. She was like, we're going to focus on track. And I said, okay. It wasn't something that hurt me. It was a lot on her, and it was a lot on me traveling to New York. Yeah. And it was just something like, okay, I'll figure out another way to make it happen, because I was going on auditions and I wasn't getting it. And the second audition that I went on, this tall European Caucasian girl was walking towards me to sit next to me. She had a pixie haircut, silver gray hair. She couldn't have been more than 18 years old. Skinniest girl I'd ever seen in my life, like up close. And I remember her boots didn't touch her ankles. So like, the ankle boots, like usually like you can fit your boot around it. Like her ankle was just like distinctly so skinny that, and I always compared it, it was like my wrist. Right. It literally was like my wrist was her ankle. And I compared it, I remember in the car, and I was just like, no, I'm just too big. And so those were the moments that I was just like, this may not be for me. Yeah. This may not. And
that
so
comment,
that was,
oh man.
These are the things that would happen. Trust. Yeah. And when I look back at it, it didn't affect me as much as like, now that I look back, I was like, man, people really said these things. But like, for me, I was just like, okay, move on. Just keep it moving. Yeah. It kind of like rolled off of me. But that was like the first time. I feel like if it happened over and over, it may be different, but things like that, like I knew in the entertainment world, in the modeling world, fine, you want me to be a twig? I can't be a twig. Keep it moving. Yeah. I can do something else.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's so interesting that it didn't affect you like emotionally at that time, but you remember it. And I always call those sorts of things Velcro comments. They just they stick to you, right? Yeah. And like, even if in the moment you're not thinking about it, you know, however many years later, you're like, I remember exactly what that woman looked like.
I
And I
remember the
remember
room,
exactly
I
what
remember
she said.
everything. Yes.
Exactly. And it's just like Velcro, because I always thought I was a skater, figure skater. And
Oh my gosh.
right. And so I was lead bottom, you know, and I just had this vivid memory of my coach being screaming across the rink, move your fat butt, lead bottom. And it was like, what? You know, so it happens in sport too, you know?
Oh, it happens in sport
So
all the time.
it happened.
All the time.
And to you as well, presumably?
All the time. Yeah.
Okay.
It's in sport, it became very different, the way it was handled, because when in sport, you start trusting the people around you,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
become these guidance
Yes.
systems. They become these mother figure, father figure. They become people that you rely on. They're your backbone. They're your rock.
Yeah.
So, and then when you have these other people who know the sport, you know, like when you see somebody who's been in the sport for 30 years as a coach, they've seen it all. They've seen the good, they've seen the bad. So you start to acknowledge and take with a grain of salt, right, what they say. But after a while, grains of salt add up.
Yeah.
It becomes very heavy.
Yeah.
So for me, the grains of salt became boulders. So every time one person said something, it wasn't that little. It was like, okay, they know what they're talking about because they've seen it. They see what success is, and they are looking at me and saying, I can't be successful with how I am and how I look. Right. And the first time I got it happens in college very often without knowledge. And that's now what I'm realizing is when I spoke about this for the first time, so many people came to me and were like, I can't believe this is happening. And then there were college girls like, I went through this as well. Like I'm saying like 20 to 30 people reaching out to me saying, I went through this in college too. Yeah. And my biggest thing was, are you a nutritionist? Like, are these college coaches nutritionists? No, yeah. They're not. They're legitimately, and I understand there's a freshman 15, I get it all. I do. Yeah. But instead of just saying these things, why not say, we all are going to have a meeting with the nutritionist so we can go over healthier options. We know Taco Bell is the right thing, but you know, let's have and I would tell even my high school kids that I would coach, like, you can have a cheat meal, just don't have a cheat day. Like I would specifically be like, this is your nutrition plan. It's not a diet. I am asking you to eat and eat constantly. Like, don't have fries at 2:00 and think you're like, it's all good. Right. So for me, I was like, no, I'm not a licensed nutritionist, but me telling them exactly, like with pictures, carrots and apples, and these are the kind of things that you should have in the morning, and to eat 5 times a day is completely different than being like, watch that freshman 15, like watch what you guys are eating. You don't want to get too big. Yeah. And you know, my college coach telling me that she was it's a bod pod. Yeah. They measure your body fat. Body fat, yeah. You know, it's like a little egg. Right. She was like, they would throw me in there all the time. You're supposed to do that once every season as a marker. And she was like, they would throw me in there all the time. I would get weighed all the time. And so these things where you start to focus on weight, you really do. Yeah. And I have to say that it wasn't really a big thing until nationals. And I was about to eat an ice cream, and my coach was right next to me. And another coach came out and was just like, put that down. What are you doing? Why are you eating that? Put that ice cream down. Wow. And I was just like, oh, all right. And mind you, my coach is right there. Right, exactly. The damn thing. Right? So, and that's where it becomes, it's starting to like upset me where other people are saying this, because I was like, you don't know. Like, what if I needed the ice cream, like for like my low blood sugar?
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You were diabetic or something or what? Yeah.
You have no idea. And so I see it even with, you know, just a completely different subject of just me posting my training workouts.
Right.
Different people will be like, if you would do this, you do better. You could be doing this. When are you going to train with me? I'll get you to where you need to be. You have no idea what I'm doing. You have no idea it's just so many people who are not experts will just come out and say anything. And so then I became more and more zoned in on my weight. And it wasn't, and somebody else had asked me, you know, if I thought I had an eating disorder. And I said, no, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just naive. Right. I just did not know. I wasn't like eating, and I wasn't like bulimic or anorexic. I was just uninformed. I just didn't know. And when you go online, you get so much information.
So much bad information.
Yes. You know, and so, and then when I started doing some kind of, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I joined a group, and they were doing certain kinds of health products, right? Okay. And so, and I was taking them, and I was losing weight, and I was ripped, and I was great. And then when my former Olympic coach and I were introduced, he was like, you have to stop. And I was like, why? He was like, because it's not helping you. It's just dehydrating you. Right. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, oh my gosh. He was like, you see why you're so shredded in all these pictures is because you're dehydrated. Right. And I said, oh, and he was like, and these products are for endurance athletes, surfers, cyclists, not for what you do. Right. So that was such an eye-opener. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, it was just, I felt like every couple months, something shifted, something else changed with my nutrition, and I just couldn't get a handle of it.
And you were grasping at stuff, it seemed like.
All the time. Just trying to be like the other high jumpers. Right. Like literally just trying to, and I talk about this with other people, like, you know, like my family, and they're like, oh my God, you're a twig, you know, you're so thin and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't need to hear that. Like, I just don't want to, you guys, like, they're just trying to be nice and sweet, but I knew in my head, I didn't look like the other jumpers. I wasn't jumping like the other jumpers. So something was wrong. Right. And it started with the ice cream. And that was my senior year of college.
And that's another Velcro moment. It's like, you know, it's another one of those things that just sticks in your mind. Yes. But it's also
I can tell you, exactly where I was. I can tell you exactly what it looked like, the stadium, everything. I can tell you everything about it. Yes. And so it really, like, those moments where, and people are like, probably like, oh, it was only like 2 times somebody said that to you. But when you compete in a sports bra and underwear, it makes a difference. Because you see these pictures, you see them all the time. Right. And you're like, why don't I have a 6-pack? But she does. And I would literally just save pictures of different high jumpers. And I would look at their weight. Like, I remember I had like a mental breakdown on the way to my mom's house. And I was just Googling all the high jumpers, their height and their
heights and weights.
And that was it. And I just I screenshotted them all. And I was like, she's, 5'11" and she's 123 pounds. She's 5'7", she's 110 pounds. Right. She's 6'2" and 129 pounds. Right. And I was like, I am 5'10" and 158 pounds. I was like, yes, there it is. When I went to the World Championships in China, my teammates were like, oh, you're looking a little thick. Great. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. I was at the Commonwealth Games in Australia, and I finished competing. I went to the bar because I'm very open that I drink beer. I'm a big beer drinker. And I finished higher than I ever had. And I was super excited, and I was like, all right, like, let's go celebrate. Me and my girlfriend, we went to the bar that's in the village. Right. And some guy just turns around and says, oh, I saw you I had purple hair, so you couldn't miss me.
Yeah, I remember the purple hair. Yeah.
Yes. And he was just like, if you lost a couple kilos, you would have done better.
It's like your body's public property. It's like, who has the right to just come up to you and talk to you about? It's like pregnant women. People think they have a right to come up and like touch the belly or. It's the same thing. It sounds like it's the same thing with athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people have no filter and they don't care what they say.
Yeah.
They just like, oh, I know what I'm talking about and you're going to listen to me. Mm-hmm. And so once it became like this thing that became over and over, and I was like, maybe this is why I'm not jumping better. Maybe this is why. And it was like, I always like had a butt, even though I don't have a butt. I don't think so, but that's always what would hit the bar. So I was just like, well, the other girls don't hit the bar with their butt. So I have it. Like, it was just like all these little things.
Yep.
And so it started to just accumulate, and it gets to be, you become obsessed with it.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah.
And so I think it may be an eating disorder, like in a different umbrella of it,
Right.
or like a different little station.
Yeah.
I never thought that I had an eating disorder. It was, you don't know anything about food. I was just not informed. And it wasn't until recently, working with my doctor and my coach, who are licensed nutritionists and know about food.
Yep.
Last year, he was like, we have to stop. I would weigh myself every day, every single day.
As recently as last year?
As recently as last year, yeah.
So you're really like at the point in your journey now where you're getting past this stuff, like now.
Oh, yes. I got past it absolutely 2,000,000%. Probably February.
Wow.
Of this year.
And this was with the help of your coaches and your doctors and
2,000,000%. I've stepped on a scale once in this last couple times, and the relationship has changed.
Yeah.
It has to.
Yep.
And I never spoke about it because I didn't think it was an issue. I was just like, I thought everybody dealt with this. Right. But they do, but they just handle it differently.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, all right, if I need to be anorexic, I'll be anorexic. So every time before a meet, I would just have 6 cups of coffee and, dehydrate myself and be like, I'm ready to go. Like, these are the kind of things that it was just normal.
Yeah.
It's what you do. And now I have no idea what I weigh. And that was the thing. This girl, she's a pole vaulter, and during quarantine, everybody had like a show where they were doing like lunches and stuff and videotaping it. She was like, I didn't know what I weighed when I competed. I had not a clue. So how could I make this a negative? I could be the heaviest I ever had and jumped like the best that I ever did.
Right.
And I was like, good point.
Yep.
I have not a clue what I weigh when I compete.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
And I decided that weight was not going to determine whether I'm good or not. I have no idea what I weigh right now, and I'm jumping better technically than I ever have.
Right.
And so for me, I'm just like, and if I am the heaviest high jumper, if I am one of the shortest high jumpers, and I'm jumping great, I'm here to prove that you can be any size, you can do anything you want, as long as you are doing things in the right format. Are you eating? Are you eating healthy? Are you, doing your mental exercises? Yeah. Are you visualizing yourself being, a champion? Are you stretching? Are you doing the workouts? Because that's what's most important. Yeah. Your relationship with food and everything needs to be positive. Yeah. It has to be positive. If there's a negative relationship, it's time to cut the cord with it.
That is such a beautiful message to give to everybody. I mean, not just athletes, but to everybody. And also the other thing I love that you talked about your coaches is, so often if coaches don't know what to do to improve someone's performance, they talk about changing their body instead of changing the technique to fit the athlete's body.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like that's what you're working on now. It's like, this is what I've got, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's strong. And it might be shorter, and I refuse to use the word thick. I just would never use the word thick. But my shape might be different some other athletes, but let's figure out how to make this amazing body get over that bar, right?
Like, my amazing body got over 6 feet 3 inches. It's not so bad. It's not terrible.
And that actually makes me think of this awesome video. I don't know if this was a quarantine video, but you were jumping over a mop or something that your husband was landing on a bed.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on? I was like, that just goes to athletes will do anything to train in quarantine, right?
True. My husband, I was like, man, I really miss jumping. He was like, you want me to hold the Swiffer? And I was like, are you kidding? He was like, no, I'll hold it. And I was like, sweet, let's do it. And I was like, I have to film it to see like if I'm still keeping my hips up. Mind you, the wall is so close to me that like I'm cutting the jump short. He was like, please don't break your neck. Please don't hit the fan. I was like, oh crap. I was like, I'm doing all these things, but you start to enjoy it because that's what happened. The joy was gone. It was gone. And you start to have a bad relationship with things. And I know many athletes who have bad relationships with sports, skating being one of them, you know, these things. And I realized that if I hated it, I wouldn't be competing anymore because if I got postponed, I was supposed to retire this year.
Right.
I should be done.
Yeah.
But I know that I started this journey and I'm going to finish it. But I need to be the representation of bigger girls.
Right.
Bigger girls who are looking themselves in the mirror or have a coach or have somebody say that you're not good enough or you're not going to be able to do this or you need to change this or you need to change that. I need to be the change that I want to see. And so the only way that I can do that is by keep going and by, you know, allowing people to see what this journey is like. And that's why I'm so grateful for talking about it because I was going to pull the CNN piece. I almost did because reaching out to certain coaches and getting, you know, my past experiences, it became super stressful because they were like, oh, I don't remember that. And I don't remember saying that to you. And it just became a thing of just like, did I make this up?
Oh,
Like,
no.
did I not go through this? Like, am I remembering it? And I said, no, because it doesn't matter whether they believe it or not. What they said had an effect on me.
Yes.
And that makes it valid.
Yes.
That's what makes it real. And so nobody should feel a certain type of way, like they're not valued or how they're feeling isn't valued or right. It's how people make you feel is true.
Right.
It's not lie, it's true.
Yeah. The
How
feeling
you
is
feel,
real. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I love my journey. I really do, because there's moments in my journey that completely rocked me to my core, where I completely fell, where I cried and I was ready to give up. And I was at track meets being like, I'm ready to give up. Like, I'm done. I have nothing left. And these people that were around me supported me, and it made me stronger. It really did. And so for everybody that called me overweight, for everybody that said I wasn't going to, you know, amount to anything, for everybody that didn't believe in me and believe in my journey, for all the negativity, for everything that I went through, I know I'm here for a purpose. And I'm so glad that everybody can see this now, and I'm not shy about it because it's real and people go through this. And I don't want other athletes to go through this anymore. So if there was, you know, things that I could honestly say, there's so much that I wish I could give all these athletes, but for them to understand that you are perfect exactly where you are. This moment where you are is exactly where you need to be. Whether you feel like you're not where you want to be or you feel like you are exactly where you want to be, it doesn't matter, because you're growing and you're changing and you're getting stronger. You're learning about it. This is how athletes get made. This is where not everything, like for me, I'm an unsigned athlete. I don't have a contract. I don't have all these major sponsors. I make a way for myself, and I love it because I'm not waiting by the phone hoping somebody calls me. I'm making calls myself. I'm doing this. And so I have this outlook of positivity and love and just self-care and self-love through all of this. And so I want every athlete and every person to love themselves exactly how they are. You are wonderful. You are extraordinary. You are phenomenally made. And if you can just go through that every single day, knowing that, you're going to become successful no matter what.
That, I need to frame that answer. You know, my next question was going to be, what do you say to the young athlete out there right now, especially young female African-American or Afro-Caribbean athletes? What do you say to them? I don't have to ask you the question because you just answered it.
Yeah. It's so powerful because I know a lot of people watch my journey. I do know that. And I know a lot of young athletes watch my journey.
Yeah.
And so when I was young, I didn't care about any of this. My weight wasn't an issue. Like how I looked wasn't an issue. Honestly, how I jumped wasn't an issue. It was just, am I having fun?
Fun.
Am I enjoying the journey? And I don't want them to lose that. Enjoy it. And if anybody is out, if you feel like somebody's out to degrade you or add negativity to your life, it's okay to say no and step away from that person. It is 2,000,000% okay. The relationships that you have in life are meant to help you grow and become a better person. If that person is blocking your blessings, then it's time to let them go. And I say this to a lot of people. If a friend of yours was being bullied by somebody, would you stand there and be like, maybe that's it? You'd step in and be like, don't talk to my friend that way. So why are you allowing that for yourself?
Right.
Don't let, you are your biggest supporter. You are your biggest fan. And I know that negative self-talk comes. I know that. It's like, I call it your, one of the girls that I read her book, Tara Schuster, she talks about the inner assassin. And it's true. You have this negative, that's where it starts, this negative self-talk. Don't allow yourself to talk to yourself like that. You are gorgeous. You are phenomenal. And when that little inner assassin comes your way, you can't just ignore it, confront it. Be like, I don't have time for you right now. This is not your place. You have no power over me. Just like anybody else doesn't have power over me, neither does your negativity. You have to acknowledge it. And you kind of become a little crazy. I think all athletes are a little bit crazy because you have to talk to yourself.
Yes.
You have to talk to yourself. You have to be like, you know what? No, I got this. I can do this. And in that same way, you have to have that positivity about yourself and love yourself and honor yourself and honor where you're going and honor your journey. And so I stopped making goals and I started making affirmations, because goals are just things that I can see on my vision board, but affirmations are happening. They are currently happening within me. And I mean, I have many, many goals that are still out there, but making them a reality is what's happening right now. So I'm staying focused. I'm staying positive. I'm loving myself. I'm adding luxury to my life, which is just being grateful that I woke up, enjoying my coffee, you know, talking to wonderful people like you, and enjoying everything that comes my way. And so for younger athletes, they should just enjoy the journey. If you're a little bit older, you need to start defining who you are, what your brand is, and your brand should just be, you know, loving the journey, loving yourself, and loving others. It's a really simple equation. Everybody wants a secret to success, and it's not. It's, you know, making sure that you're positive, you love yourself, and you love others, and allowing that to carry you. It really is important. But in my old age and my wisdom, this is what
old age. Priscilla, you have wisdom beyond your years. You know, it's like so much of what you've said, and we're going to get this out to as many young athletes as we can, and not just athletes, to as many people as we can. Because, you know, you're talking about athletes, talk to yourself. Well, you know, as a psychologist, I tell everybody to talk to themselves, because, you know, like nobody else is going to get in there and talk back to that assassin voice, right? And it just pecks away at you. So you have to stop that. You have to. Like you said, defend yourself like you defend your friends, right?
Absolutely. 2,000,000%.
It's just, your story is, it's so inspirational.
Thank you.
And, you know, you have managed to get past some pretty nasty stuff and some pretty intrusive stuff that people have said to you about your body. From my perspective.
Other people's opinions of me are none of my business.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
And I realized that 10 years ago. I was like, I don't care really what you say about me, because it has no effect. Because if I don't believe it, it's not true.
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
And I wish I would have taken that with the nutrition thing. That would have been great.
That would have been helpful.
You know what I mean? Like, there's things that I knew so long ago, but I never correlated it with nutrition ever.
Right.
So that was the biggest thing. Other people's opinions of me are not true.
Yeah.
Can I jump 6'3"? Yes, I can. Are you African American? Yes, I am. Do you wear a lot of different colored wigs? Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
That's it. Am I fat? That's your opinion.
Right.
You know, you are lazy. That's your opinion.
Right. Right.
So if you want to come out of your mouth and say that, then I feel really bad for you, because you just wasted that energy for no reason. You're not going to steal my energy. You're not going to steal my happiness. You're not taking any of that from me. That's all on you, boo-boo. I'm doing me. That's how I feel.
That's where we're stopping. That's all on you, boo-boo. That's where we're stopping.
That's all on you, boo-boo.
This has just made me so happy to hear your words and to hear your journey. And everybody out there, you know, once again, I'm going to put in a plug for EDGI.org, you know, EDGI.org. If you think you have an eating disorder and you want to participate in our study, please go up and learn something about eating disorders. And we're putting up so much information about athletes and eating and healthy nutrition and all of that. Well, and Priscilla, is there anything that you want to plug? Anything you want people to look at, go to?
Oh, I mean, please, I have a website, and if anybody else would like to help me with the website, I am open and I love it. I am horrible with website design, as you guys will see. It is PriscillaLoomis.com, and it is so new, and I do many different things on there. So we're building. We can build together, guys. But you guys can follow my entire journey at Priscilla_Frederick, which is my former name before I got married, on Instagram. I post everything and anything that you guys want to know about my journey. I'm super open for. I think I would love to be a beacon of just knowledge and education and self-love throughout the journey. I show good workouts, bad workouts, what I eat, what my doctor says, everything. I pretty much cover. So it's Priscilla_Frederick. And I am verified, so you know it's me. There's nobody else like the purple haired chick. That is not purple right now. My husband and everybody
a little disappointed. I was hoping for the
they
purple
really
hair.
I totally did this because I was like, I just need something. And everyone's like, oh my God, I love it. And I was like, fine, I'll keep it since you all love it so much. So this is a little fall number that I'm doing right now.
Awesome.
I'm sure it'll change in about 2 weeks.
Okay,
two maybe so. Yeah, by Christmas I'll have something completely different. But yeah, I mean, you guys follow the journey, and please just make sure that anybody that's in your circle, that's in your corner, is supporting you, loving you, and has the best intentions. And for, you know, great people like Cindy, just go check out the website and educate yourself before anything else. Go ask people who are experts. You don't ask, you know, your dog to cut your hair. So you go to an expert, you go to somebody who knows. When you go to the doctor, you go to somebody who knows. You're not asking WebMD for, you know, to answer all of your questions. So whenever you want something done right, you've got to put in the time and the work. And so you always go to a professional. And I think there's no shame in it. Don't be ashamed of if you don't know about nutrition. It's a great thing to learn. It's your body, and so nobody else is going to know it like you, and so nobody's going to ask the questions like you need to. So check it out. I definitely am super excited to be here and to have spoken with you. It's been amazing, and I really, really appreciate your time.
Awesome. Let's give them those Instagram one more time. So ours is at EDGI Study, and yours is
at Priscilla, PRISCILLA_. And I should be the first person after that, just let you guys know. But it's at Priscilla_Frederick.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
With the blue check. Yeah, got the blue check.
Priscilla, thank you so much for being here today. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.